I wanted to come back to this Aaron Bushnell story just momentarily because I think it's about time we have a conversation about radicalization and why it is that there are a lot of people out here who think that maybe Mr. Bushnell got radicalized by Twitter, maybe he got radicalized by some pro-Palestinian people, maybe he got radicalized by the left. By the way, all three of them are definitely on social media and all three have to do with the left. However, you've also got this crowd of people who are extremely dismissive to what this guy did. Now, you're seeing something right now, and of course, this is stuff in the B-roll footage. This is actually out of Portland, where you've got some people who claim that they served themselves, who are all screaming Aaron Bushnell's name. Let me go ahead and play a bit of it for you.
Alone. He's not alone. Remember Aaron Bushnell. Remember Aaron Bushnell. He's not alone. Remember Aaron Bushnell. Remember Aaron Bushnell. He's not alone. Remember Aaron Bushnell. Remember Aaron Bushnell. He is not alone. He is not alone. Remember Aaron Bushnell.
His colleagues, his co-workers, why are they not here to mourn this soldier, this airman? Where are they? You know who is here today? Patriots.
You pulled your guns out instead of fire extinguishers! You killed that man! You killed that man! You killed Aaron Bushnell! You did! All of you!
Of course, you guys saw that montage that you got this one lady wearing a U.S. Army uniform saying that he was a patriot, when I don't see how that actually applies here, seeing how it is that he burned himself screaming "Free Palestine." Now, I'm not going to be replaying the video for you guys or anything like that, because obviously the video would then get age restricted. However, there was a conversation that was had on Timcast IRL the other night about this, and there was also another video that was made by Short Fat Otaku. Now, Devonetized, he's the guy who actually runs that channel, and I think Devonetized, I think is Short Fat Otaku's second channel, so we'll be talking a little bit there too, because the Twitter receipts that I wanted to show you guys, for whatever reason, have been, let's just say that they are no longer on the platform. A lot of people deleted these tweets. A lot of people deleted everything that was said about this incident. But the reason why I wanted to do this was kind of give you guys an idea of why it is that the radical left itself does not care about your sacrifice in their name. Also, to go on top of this, maybe I couldn't get the receipts. Maybe I couldn't access the actual tweets themselves, because the tweets, maybe that they're just by accounts that, quite frankly, I don't follow. Maybe it's blocked from me. I really, truly don't know. My account's actually a pretty small one, but I'll link it in the description box in case you guys want to follow it. So what's going on with this case in particular? So guy goes to Washington, D.C. I'm still trying to figure out how the hell he got there, because apparently he was stationed at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. How he got to D.C., dons uniform, or dons his camis, goes to the Israeli embassy, which I'm surprised he was able to find, but still it's possible with the internet and everything. Goes out there, sets himself on fire, starts screaming and hollering "Free Palestine," and of course the memes, as you guys are seeing here in the B-roll footage, they obviously began to take off. Now, nobody is here to make fun of this guy. Nobody is here to talk bad about this guy. I'm just simply here to talk about what it was that may have radicalized him and where exactly he was getting it from. As you guys can obviously tell, it obviously came from much, much more. Let's just say it came from the corners of the far left. But the thing about that far left is this here. You see, a lot of these leftists, or these leftist streamers, and we'll be playing this very, very quick bit here in a second. A lot of these leftist streamers are very, very, how do I say, selfish. They claim to be communists, they claim to be socialists, but if you actually follow their accounts online, you find out that they brag about how much money they made. They brag about the success of their channel, which, by the way, I need to go ahead and say this right now. Anytime you create a YouTube channel and you have people subscribe to your channel, people who watch your channel, regardless of your content, unless, of course, it's Vosh and Hassan and these other idiots, you should obviously be proud of your accomplishments. However, the thing about Vosh and Hassan and them is that they're not really and truly actual socialists. As a matter of fact, some very interesting information came out about one of these yahoos. I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about. His folder being linked that had all of his porn. We may cover that at a later date. I want to let the dust kind of settle on that before I come and actually talk about it. Of course, it was going to be the meat of another project that I have working on this year, talking about the left's problem with certain people who do certain acts to kids actually amongst their ranks. But we'll get to that here soon. The thing is this here. The radical left, the ideology that this guy right here claims to subscribe to or claimed he was subscribing to, and of course, according to his Reddit posts, his social media, these people never really truly cared for him. So it makes you wonder why in the world he actually did what it is that he did. Well, I came across Short Fat Otaku's channel the other day, and of course, he actually came up with a, let's just say that this very, very first part here, I think encapsulates a lot of what's going on exactly with these radical leftists. Let's go ahead and roll this.
Every one of his takes are predictable simply by knowing his ideology. I've had the argument over ideology with Arch and V a few times on stream. You know, how much of the stuff that we're currently seeing is ideological devotion to revolutionary socialism, how much of it is self-serving opportunism wearing the cloak of an ideology for personal gain, and how much of it is just people going with the flow of those around them for social cohesion. Well, insofar as Aaron Bushnell is concerned, I think we can conclude that this was real ideological devotion. Socialists like Hassan or Vosh, yes, it's still coming, would never actually light themselves on fire in protest, because those guys are in it for personal gain, not ideological devotion. This guy is more like a Che Guevara type. He could have just set up shop and become a dictator and enriched himself for decades after his first revolution, but he didn't. He traveled around inciting revolutions anywhere he could until he was finally killed, because he was ideologically devoted to the cause. Actions speak louder than words in the end, and I think it's a fair assumption that Aaron Bushnell genuinely believed in the shit he was saying, considering that he actually barbecued himself. There's a lot of discussion regarding whether or not he was mentally ill. He probably was, in my opinion. But let's go over it.
Now, before we go any further, let's take a look at this, because this right here to me, I think is pretty much, it's blatantly obvious that this guy right here obviously had something wrong with him.
I don't know how you describe this. There are mental disorders in the DSM-5 we understand. Somebody's eating their hair, and they do it all the time. They eat pennies. I reference Pike a lot. There's body dysmorphic disorder. People want to remove body parts.
Yeah.
We know that those things exist. But there's something else. If somebody is placed in a room for 2 weeks and the only thing they're shown is the same images over and over and over again, you can drive them insane. You can shatter their minds. So the question, I would say outright, a man who walks in front of the Israeli embassy, sets himself on fire, he pours some clear liquid, presumably gasoline, says the people of Palestine have been living under the rule of their colonizers who are committing genocide against them, and I will no longer be complicit, ignites himself. So the first question I have is, to what end? What was the logical thought process of doing something like this? I don't think he had one.
Anything I want you guys to take away from that is colonizers. Colonizers. These people are colonizers. They use that term when it comes to Israelis. They use that term when it comes to Jews going into Gaza. Of course, they're actually fighting in the Gaza Strip. Of course, this happened after Hamas attacked Israel back on October the 7th. So therefore, it's technically a war. That is what the hell is going on. And while they may have entered into a couple of temporary ceasefires, obviously the pro-Palestinian people are obviously not happy about this. So words like, say, colonizer, for example, are used in this context, but colonizer is also used in other contexts too. If you're white, for example, you will be called a colonizer by some of these people. This, by the way, will come back up a little bit later on in the video. So make sure you guys keep that in mind, because as you guys can obviously see, certain language is definitely being used here, and you got to ask yourself why this is the case. Well, I personally lay it at the feet of socialist streamers who are actually really capitalist in real life, and me, of course, being a capitalist myself, I can obviously spot the behavior, but we'll get to that soon. People like Hassan, people like Vosh and them, they're all in it for themselves. They're all very, very selfish, but what they don't seem to realize is that there's a lot of people who follow them who actually get radicalized by the content that they produce. By the way, the content that they produce is content that has absolutely no common sense, no merits, has absolutely no brain power behind it. Vosh, for the most part, is a guy who just, quite frankly, pretends that he's smart, tries to sound like he's smart. He's a bit of an optics cuck. Mentis Wave did a video on this recently, and I can already hear somebody who's maybe a debate bro, maybe saying in the comment section, debate him or debate the other. And my response is this right here. Anybody with a porn folder, anybody who has an affinity for a certain type of affinity for children will never get platformed on this channel. I will never subject my audience to people like that. Maybe some other people who are actually much, much better and how do I say that? They operate a little bit better amongst good faith rather than bad faith, like someone like Vosh or Hassan. I'm not bringing them up here. I'm not exposing my audience to them. By the way, their channels are beginning to go down anyway, so what's actually the point in actually doing so? I just wanted to get that out of the way. But many people are wondering how exactly it was that Mr. Bushnell got radicalized. Okay, so then you come to the conversation, and the conversation that was had on Timcast IRL the other night. Now, pay very close attention to some of this, because some people are looking at the military and they're saying, okay, well, maybe the military could be at fault for this. Let's go ahead and roll some of this.
Amount of mental illness that you have to be at to take your life in that way.
I want to say this to all the leftists. When they're saying there's a genocide going on, did he light himself on fire over the Uyghur Muslims? Is he lighting himself on fire over the Sudanese conflict, for which the U.S. certainly plays a role? What about the Yemen? The Yemenis humanitarian crisis has been going on for a very, very long time. I mean, 10 years ago, we were talking about a secret war in Yemen with cities being bombed by U.S. drones, even though we're not at war. American citizens being killed. This is my point. This young man never did anything like this for any one of the other serious and egregious.
Now, Tim's guest the other night was Graham Allen. Graham is a veteran too, like myself. We'll talk about the military aspect here in a second, but many people are thinking that what happened in this case is that this guy basically tried to reenact exactly what started the Arab Spring, and some people probably think that this could lead to something else later on. Now, that's something else that could lead to later on. It's probably going to get linked in the video that I have for Saturday. Today's kind of a day where I'm going to try to go ahead and put out about 5 or 6 videos, try to make them all today, so that way I can also get to work on the video that will be coming out on March the 6th. Trust me, we'll talk a little bit more about that in tomorrow's and the second video of the day. But the thing is this here. A lot of people think that this sort of act here, this sort of act of self-immolation could lead to something down the road, something kind of like what happened with the Arab Spring. I don't think that's the case, as you guys will see here in a second, because people here in the United States, we live obviously on what's supposed to be a 24-hour news cycle, what's really becoming a 60-second news cycle where people are just, let's just say, they're getting all kinds of information being thrown in their face all the time. I mean, from different angles and whatnot. So therefore, there's a lot of people out there who probably don't really care. So it makes you wonder if something a little bit more radical is coming. Like this right here was the first act of many. Well, what was the initial response to this guy? This clip lasts about 2 minutes. Don't worry, I will link this video in the description box, and I'll link Dev's channel there too. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of his, I'll link it there. But
others, meanwhile, are saying that martyrdom is not really suicide, as suicide is done out of a mental health problem, while martyrdom is done for political revolution. One person calls his act revolutionary love, and claims that censoring the video or suppressing its spread is counter-revolutionary and disrespecting his memory. My immediate knee-jerk reaction is that these people are fucking insane, but it's actually a hard question to answer if you think about it. Like I said before, is it possible for a sane person to kill themselves and not be suicidal or mentally ill? Yes, but is that the case this time? Does his misguided devotion to an evil ideology qualify as a mental illness? Or is he simply a victim of the ideology? Is genuine belief in a cause mental illness? Is it only mental illness if it's a cause you disagree with? I'm not really sure of the answer, but it feels kind of like it's both. More importantly though, it is pointless. If you actually care about the Palestinian cause enough to die for it, why wouldn't you go to Palestine and die fighting the people that you view as oppressors? Meanwhile, there's a whole other section of the online left who agree this was pointless, but not the way that I'm saying it. They're actually denigrating this guy. Black activists are losing their shit that the phrase rest in power, which is used for revolutionary martyrs, is being used to commemorate the death of a white colonizer who worked for the American military. Meanwhile, Muslims, the people that he sacrificed himself for, a lot of them don't care either, because he wasn't a Muslim. To them, he was a godless kafir who is now burning in hell. Imagine setting yourself on fire, and the only thing you've achieved after your charred corpse cools off is a bunch of your comrades talking about your white privilege. Probably the most morbidly funny part of the whole story is the memes. Most normal people recognize that this was a pointless, stupid act, and they've decided to meme on it right away, immediately. No too soon stuff this time around. People are drawing wojaks of him on fire. People are posting movies or TV shows where the characters are on fire or using fire magic. People are memeing on how part of the online left is denigrating his sacrifice because he was white. People are memeing that one of the responding officers drew his gun on the charred man who was flopping around near death.
It doesn't seem to me like leftists were that interested in what this guy did. So basically what happened was that this guy here self-immolated for no reason at all. I mean, there are people out there who obviously do certain acts to themselves on the way out, thinking that it will actually mean something, but obviously this right here was a meaningless act. It obviously does not mean anything. I mean, this right here was brought up heavily. I'm going to play this next part for you guys. But I'm pretty sure you guys can see that a very large portion of whoever this guy is supporting, they quite frankly could care less. Because, of course, he is, in fact, a gringo and a white liberal at that. Now, before I go any further, I want to go ahead and say this. I want to go ahead and make this abundantly clear before I go any further. I am in no way, shape, or form making fun of this individual who did what he did. Okay, obviously you can have a little bit of fun with something. That's called coping mechanism. I'm bad for that, but I'm not making fun of him because still, at the end of the day, this is a guy whose mother is probably on the other end wondering exactly what the hell went wrong. His father probably is too. And also to go on top of this, we still have yet to get the guy's information as far as what he was doing in the Air Force as far as a job. We'll be bringing that up a little bit later on. So still at the same time, this is one of those guys that the radical left did in fact radicalized. Let's watch this.
Military affairs happening around the world with U.S. involvement. So when you see someone scream free Palestine, calling it a genocide, and then lighting themselves on fire, what I see here is a man who was trapped in an echo chamber where people were screaming in his face 24/7 until his brain broke. Because any rational person who assessed all of the details on global foreign affairs, military conflict, would conclude the Israeli conflict is not the most egregious and insane thing happening on the planet. You can have the opinion that it is, that's fine, but there's certainly others. The other point is he accomplished absolutely nothing by doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it makes me think of the rates of anxiety, depression, and hopelessness that we see among American youth today. I mean, if you're deciding to go out by self-immolation, sorry, I can't talk, it probably means that you wanted to feel as though your death definitely meant something and made an impression, right? And that's sort of an act of desperation to feel valued by the world. Ultimately, his death...
To me, this guy was an active duty airman. So,
active duty.
So the echo chamber was the military then. Here's my thing. Okay. I was in the Army for 12 years. All right. I wasn't anything special, nothing. But this, people that are having, how long till we find out that people are like, oh yeah, he's been struggling for a long time, or he's been this. It'll only be a matter of time before we find that out and people start talking about that. So my question is, back when I was in, mental health was a huge thing. The wars were going on, everything like this. If somebody twitched the wrong way, it was handled immediately. Like, you would tackle that person and not let them move until mental health services got there across the board. So this is an epic failure in the military. There is zero chance, zero. If this dude was active duty, I'm telling you right now, there is zero chance that people around him in his squad, his platoon, whatever it was, they did not know that something's off with, what was his name?
That echo chamber being in the military does have me thinking. Now, guys, in the video that I released, the first video I released on this back on Wednesday, my thinking was that it's very possible that this guy here, Mr. Bushnell, it's very, very possible that this guy may have gotten radicalized, not by the military. Trust me, the military did not radicalize him, especially the Air Force. And by the way, I'm not saying that to make fun of anybody who's Air Force. Inter-service rivalry is something that happens. Army guys, they make fun of Marines like myself all the time. We make fun of Army guys all the time. We both make fun of the Air Force. We also make fun of the Navy. They make fun of us. Inter-service rivalry is inter-service rivalry. If you get triggered over me saying something like the Chair Force or something, you're in the Air Force, I'm not going to apologize to you, because by now you ought to be able to know how to give it back to the jarhead, the dumb jarhead Marine like myself. You should be able to know how to do that, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. That's the way I talk. I'm not going to censor for anybody. I'm not going to change things. I may make adjustments to content, stuff like that, but it does not mean I'm going to change the way I talk to anyone. The thing is this right here. Many people are wondering if he got radicalized while he was in the military. No. That did not happen at all. However, I will say that right now, the social justice warring of the military does in fact concern me. And I did talk about this in the previous video, that Lackland Air Force Base and 2 other military bases, not Fort Hood, experienced a massive spike. And I mean a massive spike in registrations for the Democratic Party. Basically what's happening is that the administrative side of the military is becoming much, much more Democratic, and the combat arms side of the military is becoming much, much more Republican, much, much more conservative. Basically, what's happening is polarization. I've covered this before. I even covered this in a video that I did on Gear 33, which I'll be talking more about in the second video of the day. The thing is this right here. The Democratic Party obviously is catering more to the administrative side of the military, and of course these people are more inclined to buy into the whole social justice warrior doctrine. which it's pretty obvious that Mr. Bushnell was doing. Now, as far as mental health is concerned in the military, well, Mr. Allen does bring this up, especially in the episode. I'll probably link the full episode for you guys. It was the episode that I think happened on Wednesday night. It may have been. No, I think it was Tuesday night that this episode happened. Either way, I'll probably link it in the description box. I advise you guys watch it all the way through because he makes a lot of very good points, especially about this situation here. But you're talking about a guy who, quite frankly, decided to self-emulate, screaming "Free Palestine," all that type of stuff there, all the normal type of thing that you would hear leftists scream before they decide to, which, of course, is still faux, especially given the fact that people like Vosh and Hassan and Destiny and all of them, they have a personal game, selfish matters. Of course, it's all about making money to these people, where it is the people that they radicalize actually take this crap these people are saying, which, by the way, is completely unrealistic, and they actually apply it. As you guys also already saw, the radical left itself, they viewed him as just another privileged white boy who decided to emulate himself for no freaking reason at all. In no way, shape, or form are you supposed to honor this guy's sacrifice or anything. What I'm saying to you is that the left itself does not actually, how do I say this? They do not actually appreciate said sacrifice that you gave these people. These people were very, very much on the self-hating side. This is kind of what they do. They're self-loathing, self-hating, and of course you guys are seeing now that for the most part it is, in fact, a death cult.
People and yeah, maybe he didn't have close friends, but in the military, you have close people next to you that see you every single day, and we're facilitating. It's the same thing when you had the school shooters, and the kids are like, "Oh yeah, so and so said for forever that they're going to shoot up the school," but they didn't say anything.
Was it possible that whatever unit he was in, he did not get along with his?
Oh, absolutely, it's possible. I mean, that's part of the military. There's people you don't like that you have to learn to get along with.
But based on what you're saying about, he's got people around him, they're going to notice something's wrong.
Yeah.
What if the issue that drove him to wanting to take his own life was that he wasn't getting along with any of the guys in his unit or whatever, or his commanding officers, and maybe they considered him to be, I don't know, a weirdo or weak, or maybe he was the odd person out who felt detached and disconnected to the point where nobody cared. And that was actually what broke him. You know what I mean?
Again, the military is different now from when I was in it. I just know that when I was there, I mean, not only are you forced to take and see people on a regular basis to make sure everything's good, not only are you forced to take mental health courses and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, it was just, if they would literally drill it into your mind. If your battle buddy, as it would be called, showed any signs of anything, you have the absolute obligation to spear tackle them and hold them down on the ground until somebody trained can come in.
Imagine his thought process was, life sucks, I hate my life, I'm going to do it, but at least I'll say Free Palestine when I do.
Well, I don't negate that. I agree with you. I think that no one can argue that we're the most connected we've ever been, but we're the most alone we've ever been. So many people struggle with this. Depression, anxiety, suicide are rampant. Suicide is literally the 10th cause of death in our country now. My question still remains, on top of the world that we live in, that is these echo chambers, to your point, that are breaking people down to a point where depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts are running rampant. How many times, and I'm just speaking purely from a military because this is an active duty service member, how many times was this person failed because we're also facilitating a world and a culture now where, oh, well, they're just dealing with something right now. I'm not going to speak up and say, hey, something's wrong with so-and-so because they don't want to embarrass people or they don't want to get involved and people don't want to do the right thing. Again, there's no way that this guy that did this did not have
any other side.
Very real.
Now, let me go ahead and answer that part. I did let it run a little bit longer than normal, but let me go ahead and answer this part. When you are in the military, you are definitely aligned with somebody in there. You definitely have people who are much, much closer to you. Especially if you live at the barracks, chances are you have a roommate, all that type of stuff there. I have no idea how the Air Force does things. I'm just guessing that this airman probably had other people staying in his room, staying in his barracks room with him, all that type of stuff there. So therefore, there would in fact be people who probably saw something, but still at the same time, a lot about this situation to me is very eerie and very weird. Like, I'm still trying to figure out how the hell he even got to DC, especially in full camis. Now, when I was in the Marines, and this is back in 2007 when I got out, you actually were not allowed to wear your camis off base. I mean that you were not actually allowed to wear your camouflage off base, your everyday uniform. You were not allowed to wear it once you left the front gate, unless you were driving straight home. Okay, like for example, if let's just say like we're at Camp Lejeune and you leave Camp Lejeune, and let's just say you go by Midway Park, all that type of stuff there. You get on Western. If you've ever been in the Marine Corps, chances are if you've ever been stationed at Camp Lejeune, you'll know what I'm talking about. You go beyond Western. Let's say you choose to get out at the nearest convenience store. You're not allowed to do that while you're in camis. You're not supposed to. You can get in trouble for that. Now, I'm not saying this guy cared about the rules here. Obviously, he did not, especially if he was going there to go self-immolate. But as far as people knowing if this guy had some issues going on and not saying anything, it makes me almost wonder if maybe there's not, I don't know, maybe more than one person just like him in his unit. Basically, what I'm saying is that the social justice warrior in the military, the fact that this guy probably ingested a lot of leftist content, that right there is what's got me thinking that this particular airman decided to do what it is that he chose to do. He obviously took this thing a little bit too serious and a little bit too far. And as you guys obviously saw, a good portion of these people, not the ones that you saw in Portland, but a good portion of these people from behind their phones, behind their computers, they chose to obviously insult the guy. Now, obviously, what this guy did was pointless, and he quite frankly should not have done it. And of course, it did not yield him any type of sympathy at all, except for some idiots in Portland. But still, at the same time, though, as you guys can obviously see, leftism is, in fact, a mental disorder. Liberalism is a mental disorder. It's a disease, it's futile, and it's obviously a death cult. Think about it this way here. These people's ideology preaches not to have any children, to abort your children, even kill children who come out the womb, as it's legal in some states to do that. This same exact ideology screams that you're fat phobic if you want to keep yourself in shape. They tell you now that you are fascist if you choose to pick up the weights and you decide to work out. The same people at the exact same time demand free health care while at the exact same time eating loads and loads and loads of pizza. In some cases, soy too, which I think kind of causes a counter reaction to it. It is a futile lifestyle, and there's a lot more things that I'm pretty sure that I missed over the course of this interview or over the course of this video involving Mr. Bushnell and, of course, how bad leftism is. Fact of the matter is the military did not radicalize this guy at all. What radicalized him was, in fact, the death cult that is known as the American left. That right there is what the hell radicalized Mr. Bushnell. With that right there being said, guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off. I'm going to be making a lot of videos today, so chances are if you come across a video that was released on Saturday or Sunday, chances are I made it today. I'm going to go ahead and try to put out a lot of content. And of course, I'm going to be providing some updates on things. I may even do an updates video, State of the Channel interview, a video on Sunday to let you guys know exactly how things are going to be going come first week of March. I've also got a video to promote, and of course, I'm going to leave these two videos here in the description box from Gear Issue 33. Another video is coming out on March the 6th on that channel. I will also be talking about that in the next few videos, so make sure you guys stick around throughout the entire weekend. With that right there being said, once again, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. I will see you guys later.